welcome back to my channel. So today I have a review of the latest release from Estee Lauder. It is their new Legacy collection, which is 5 reimagined fragrances from their original classic fragrances that have been around for decades that they have reimagined with famous perfume creator FREDERIC MALLE. So I'm going to take you through all 5 and how they compare to the original and give you a bit of the history and story behind them. If you're new here, then hello, welcome. I'm all about perfumes. I have hundreds, well over 1,000 videos just like this on whole ranges, new releases, perfume notes, so do check them out. I also have my blog that goes through all the perfume ranges that you can think of, including discontinued versions, on SokiLondon.com, where you can also get my fragrances that I've created myself, Empress, Aphrodite, and my super concentrated soy wax candles. I will leave the links to where you can get these in the description box. At the moment, they're on the Estee Lauder website and exclusive to Harrods, but I'll leave the links so you can get them all around the world. And if you're a regular viewer, do make sure you're subscribed and give the video a thumbs up. Cool, so this was a really lovely release. I was invited by Estee Lauder to Harrods to the launch event for these fragrances. Really, really beautiful event with FREDERIC MALLE there, and he was so interesting. So FREDERIC MALLE, he's not a perfumer. So a perfumer is someone who is a qualified perfumer who has done a degree like in the chemistry of perfume, who it works in the lab creating the chemical formula of a perfume, which is very complex. It takes years to do. FREDERIC MALLE is more the creator of many famous scents. He of course has his own range, Portrait of a Lady being the most well known. He's worked with different perfumers on them, kind of in the way that I do with my fragrances. I'm not a qualified perfumer. I can't be in the lab making it. I work with Ruth Mastenbrook, who's my perfumer, my chemist, but I know what I want it to smell like and I create that and she translates that into a chemical formula. FREDERIC MALLE sold his fragrance brand, FREDERIC MALLE Fragrances, to Estee Lauder about 8 years ago. Estee Lauder, if you don't know, own so many famous fragrance brands. Like half the brands that you know will be owned by Estee Lauder. They are so much more than just the Estee Lauder branded products. The history of the Estee Lauder company is actually really interesting. It's an American company, and Mrs. Estee Lauder was a sort of force to be reckoned with. She started off creating skincare. She got married and moved to Manhattan, and she was known for being incredibly good at marketing and connecting with women, and she would making up women with makeup and skincare and advising them, and she became incredibly well known in that community, and the success of the brand is of course testament to her. Her granddaughter is called Erin, and she has the Erin fragrance range. So FREDERIC MALLE has worked with different perfumers to recreate some of the classic Estee Lauder fragrances. Now these fragrances are from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they have been quietly selling really well for a long time. I really learnt about these when I was 23, I think. After university, I spent a year working in a perfume boutique that sold every perfume you can think of. And this was back home in Lancashire, where I'm from. And the population there is a little bit older than in England, lots of retired people. And I had never heard of these Estee Lauder fragrances there before I started work there, but it was one of our most common sellers, where people coming in saying, can I get my bottle of Knowing, my bottle of Estee, my bottle of White Linen? People who had been buying these perfumes and wearing them for decades, and it was their signature scent. And they're not advertised, they just sell themselves, people that repurchase them. So this new collection is called Estee Lauder Legacy. So the original, the versions are not discontinued, they're still sold. But these 5, what they've done is they've gone back to the original formula. And FREDERIC MALLE said that some of the formulas were so old, they were just written on paper, they had to dig them out of boxes. The formulas have changed over time because some ingredients get banned, regulations come in. Back sort of in the 50s, 60s, they used to use a lot of ingredients derived from animals, which isn't really done anymore. So the formulations have changed over the years, but what he's done is work with perfumers to go back to the original fragrance chemical formulas and put a modern twist on them, reimagined them. So they still have the same like DNA, but they've been made for 2024. They come in 100ml bottles and they are £250 each. So these really are luxury premium products. I have them here in miniatures. This box doesn't appear to be available online, but it probably will appear at some point because they've made it, so they wouldn't just make a few just for this event, they would make thousands. So these minis will appear maybe at Christmas or something. But at the moment it's just the 100ml that are available. I think they are a really cute gift if you know someone that wears one of these and has worn it for decades, to get them the legacy one, just to mix it up. The presentation and everything is beautiful. Love this design. And this is what one of the bottles looks like. It comes in this beautiful box, which is cardboard, so no plastic. It's a sort of an original sort of classic Hollywood 1950s American bottle, which is just translucent so you can see the fragrance. So let me take you through them one by one. So I'll start off with the original perfume ESTEE. So original ESTEE came out in 1968 and it's primarily an aldehyde fragrance. Aldehyde is the main note in Chanel No. 5, so it's that similar type of fragrance, same family. There's lots of other floral notes, carnations, some spicy coriander, which is quite common in fragrances from the 60s and 70s. And one thing Frederic Malle noticed was that they used to put a lot of different notes in a fragrance. The original ESTEE has like 30 different fragrance notes in. He's really tried to simplify it. So the ESTEE Legacy one doesn't have any of that sort of spicy coriander in. It also doesn't have aldehyde in. Personally, I find aldehyde to be quite a dated fragrance note. I'm not a fan of Chanel No. 5. So the new ESTEE Legacy, so this definitely has the floral heart of the original. Carnation, ylang ylang, jasmine, rose, and it's really quite musky in a very clean way. So rather than having aldehyde in, which is quite a sharp cleanness, this is a powdery cleanness. Like you've just got out the shower and used a talcum powder, and then you've got those classic floral notes. Definitely for someone who likes a classic floral, but it doesn't have the sharpness of the coriander of the original, the sharpness of the aldehyde. Instead, it's more simple, clean, powdery. Definitely one for fans of powdery scents. So next up we have Azure. This was launched in '69, and I know this is a very green, mossy fragrance, a little bit like Chanel 19. It's got a lot of oak moss in, vetiver, green, basil, outdoor, very, very green, but very strong again. So the new version feels much more unisex. It has a woody leather note in, and I definitely detect the leather. Cloves, it feels like it would be really lovely on a man as well as a woman. So rather than it being very green like a bush, like being in a forest, instead it's that creamy leather, that woodiness, along with some aromatic, quite calming green notes that are mixing really well with the leather. They combine really well. There's a bit of freshness from cardamom, a hint of basil, and it's got a warmth of a clove. This would be lovely in the autumn and the winter, quite cozy. I definitely prefer it to the original. It definitely feels modern. It feels very wearable as well. This would be lovely to the office. Definitely for fans of leather perfumes or green perfumes, and it's not a really strong leather. It's subtle, but it's there and it feels very classy. So next up from 1973, we've got Private Collection. Now this is one that I really know is another really strong green fragrance. Chrysanthemum, I can never say that. Honeysuckle, hyacinth, loads of green leaves, green notes. Again, the oak moss. So in the new version, again, it's been simplified, but it's definitely still incredibly green. This is for fans of very green, grassy fragrances. It has a real grassy feel to it, from a basil note, tarragon, oak moss. It really feels like you're smelling basil plant. It's got laburnum, very springtime, like you're in a garden in the morning and you can smell all the plants. Definitely anyone that loves green fragrances, and there aren't a lot of green fragrances out at the moment. Chanel 19 is probably the classic green. This is definitely one for you, and it's quite subtle. It doesn't have any of that power that the original had, which can be a bit dated. Instead, instead it's just like fresh springtime green. It'd be lovely for like a wedding, spring wedding, something like that. So next we have Knowing. Now Knowing is such a strong fragrance, the original. Again, we've got aldehyde and oak moss, but it was just really, really, really strong, almost as strong as Youth Dew, another classic Estee Lauder. Quite a lot of patchouli in the original Knowing. So the new Knowing has that patchouli note, and it definitely feels like patchouli is the main note. It's got some warmth from an orris root, which is the bulb of an iris plant, and a hint of amber. This one feels slightly oriental, and it feels a bit leathery as well. Definitely leaning to me towards a little bit more masculine than the others. And there's a hint of a rose. It does feel like quite a classic Middle Eastern type scent. In the notes, it's listed as having blackcurrant and raspberry as a top note. I don't get any fruitiness in this. For me, it's straight into patchouli and orris. I think it would be lovely on a man if you like the patchouli amber combination. But again, it's softer, more modern than original Knowing, which is a powerhouse. Then lastly, we have White Linen. This was 1978. Again, it's got that clean aldehyde sharp top note, but it also has a whole bouquet of flowers. Wisteria, lily of the valley, carnation, very classic English country garden, innocent. So in the new White Linen, he has kept the aldehyde notes. It's the only one that still has aldehyde in, and you really can smell it. It does smell quite similar to Chanel No. 5. We've got some rose in here, a little bit of a woody vetiver undertone, but for me, the main note is a floral aldehyde. Reminds me a bit of Chanel No. 5 Low without the citrus opening. Feels very, very clean. I think this was probably the lightest of them all. It does give you that freshly like washed laundry, that clean, airy aldehyde scent. And I think this is the lightest of the 5. So really lovely for them to like recreate these. Like I said, the originals are still available, but I think if you are a fan of the originals, these could be a great way to update and just have a twist on the original. The price point at $250 is obviously much more expensive, but you can tell the thought and the work that's gone into them, and they are all beautiful, classy creations. They still have that classic echo of the original Estee Lauder fragrances, but just with a little bit more cleaner, simpler, more like calming, more understated fragrances, I'd say. Let me know if you've tried any of these, or have you worn any of the originals. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do read all your comments. They'll be linked down below where you can get these. But that's it, guys. So thanks so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.